Sarajevo is well known for its unique confessional structure, which is reason why it's often being compared to Jerusalem. Headquarters of Muslim state community, headquarters of Orthodox and Catholic Church, and headquarters of Jewish community of Bosnia and Herzegovina are all located here. The city is even more beautified by objects that belong to the four biggest world confessions: Islam, Christianity, Eastern Orthodoxy, and Judaism. Numerous mosques, churches, and synagogues are placed in center of the city, only a few hundred meters far from one another, which is what brings tradition, multiculturalism, tolerance, and cosmopolitan spirit to a whole new level. Sarajevo has begun its urban development in the middle of the 15th century. At that time, Bosnian regent Isa Bey Isaković started undertaking construction works on numerous religious, cultural, and public buildings. In 1457, he built the mosque in honor to Sultan Mehmed Fatih, so the mosque was named the Imperior's Mosque. However, 18 years after it was built, the mosque was wrecked in fire. Following the request of the Sarajevo's citizens, Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent ordered a new mosque to be built in 1566 at the same place. Architect Karl Paržić combined elements used in Bosnian house construction and in 1912 designed a building of residence for Muslim state community headquarters, which gracefully fits in with the mosque. Conservation works conducted during the 1980s on the inner walls of the mosque revealed 5 layers of decorated paintings from 16th, 18th, and 19th century. All layers were preserved and used as a basis for reconstruction of decorations, which can be seen on the walls today. In a large graveyard with over 100 gravestones, some of them date back from the beginning of the 15th century. According to the epitaphs, viziers, muftis, clerks of the Imperior's Mosque and their families were buried here. A couple of archaic gravestones are suspected to mark the Isa Bey Isaković's grave. Alongside the minaret is the turbe of Ibrahim Efendi Bistrigija, who was one of the notable citizens in 17th century, while performing the duty of Sarajevo's mufti. The Old Orthodox Church, also known as Church of Saint Archangels, Mikhail and Gavrilo, is placed in heart of Charshia. That area was earlier known as Old Varoš, and that is why the church is mentioned in all manuscripts as the church in Varoš. The exact time of building up is not determined, but it assumes it originates from the beginning of the 16th century. The architect and the original object appearance are not known. Atypically for churches, this one has 2 floors. 17th century wooden iconostas has the biggest artistic value. Besides other treasures, church safeguards saint remains of sufferers. The remains of Saint Tekla, her right arm, was brought from Serbia as Patriarch Arsenije IV Jovanović's gift. For this arm, a special custom-made glove was designed in Russia and made of stone and pearls. A special place is given to remains of a 1-year-old baby. According to legend, evil stepmother threw the baby, and thanks to its innocence, the baby was sanctified. The coffin with remains is on the church's gallery, and mothers who pray for their families, as well as the ones who cannot have children, pray there. Gazi Husrev Bey's mosque was built 1530, and it represents one of the most beautiful masterpieces of Islamic architecture in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and one of the most important mosques in the Balkans. It was built by chief architect of the Ottoman Empire, Ayem Esir Ali, and financed by Bosnian Sanjak Bey Gazi Husrev Bey. A big marble fountain is placed in the middle of courtyard. Besides its decorative purpose, it is also used for ritual bathing that precedes every prayer. Two big mausoleums, called turbe, were built next to mosque. One is Gazi Husrev Bey's, and the other one belongs to Murad Bey Tardic, the first mutawalli of the Gazi Husrev Bey's Vakuf. Graves of very important Bosniaks are also placed in mosque's courtyard. Some of those important people are Mehmed Džemaluddin Čaušević, great mufti and one of the first translators of Holy Quran to Bosnian language, Dr. Mehmed Spaho, first Bosniak minister in Yugoslavia Kingdom's government, Dr. Safet Beybašegić, poet, historian and translator. Main entrance of the mosque is decorated by stylish ornaments, gilding and marble, while the interior is beautified by calligraphic quotations from Quran. Over 120 years old inscription makes the wall left from the entrance even more delightful. Mimbar, which is used for preaching, was made of 7 different types of marble. It is also very interesting to mention that after the first power station in Sarajevo started to operate, Gazi Husrev Bey's mosque was the first mosque in the world to get electric illumination. The object with the most beautiful proportions of the classic Ottoman architecture style in Sarajevo is Ali Pasha's mosque. This fascinating monument was built 1516 as Hadim Ali Pasha ordered. Thanks to its stone walls, the mosque survived numerous fires that have ruined the city on more than one occasion. The fountain in front of the mosque is the biggest fountain built during the Ottoman reign. It is called Idadia, which is the name of the military school. From its courtyard, the fountain was transferred here. It is made of stone with several watercocks that continuously pour water. Mosque's interior is simply decorated. Mihrab is light brown and light yellow with decorative quotations from Quran. Mimbar, dyed with same colors as mihrab, is completely made of wood. A large cemetery is placed beside the mosque, and it is certainly older than the mosque itself, because Ali Pasha has been buried in it. Ali Pasha left money in his last will and ordered the mosque to be built next to his grave. Big mausoleum with 2 graves can also be seen in courtyard. Bekjet Mutevelić and Avdo Sumbul, members of Mlada Bosna, organization that fought against Austro-Hungarian occupation, are buried there. A legend says that young Bosnian women tried to stop Austro-Hungarian troops from entering the city by pouring them with hot water from the mosque's tower. Placed in center of the city, dedicated to the birth of Holy Madonna, after 11 years of construction work, Cathedral Church was built 1872. Designed in Byzantium style by Macedonian Andrija Damjanov, it is one of the biggest Orthodox temples in the Balkans. Construction work was financed by donations from Orthodox citizens, shopkeepers, Russian royal family, city government, Sultan Abdul Aziz Khan, and Bosnian Vizier Topal Osman Pasha. Besides money from Russia, gilded icons made in monastery nearby Petrograd were donated to the church as well. The altar is 3 steps higher than the rest of the church, and by the right column, gilded throne where Archbishop sits is placed. Also, gilded table for the priest stands next to it. Church exterior was renewed after the war, while interior refurbishment requires more finances. That is why church's ceiling is in so bad condition it could come down any minute. Wooden construction was set under to back the ceiling up and prevent potential devastation. After ongoing research, the interior will soon be renewed as well. Cross on the bell tower was a gift from wealthy Sarajevo's ladies. During the First World War, Austro-Hungarians took lead roof and bells off. When a church was renovated in the 1920s, 3 new bells were bought in Trieste, and the biggest one weighs 2,800 kilograms. At the exact place where Church of Saint Anthony of Padua stands today, once was an old church built by the end of 1881. At that time, it was the only Catholic church in Sarajevo. Bosnian Archbishop used it temporarily as the main church before the cathedral was built. Monastery was built next to church, 1894, and the province Bosnia and Silver is headquartered here. The church was built of wood, so its construction couldn't fight the weather changes for a long time. It was battered down, and architect Josip Vancaš designed and supervised construction of a new one that lasted from 1912 until 1914. Almost 50 meters high bell tower was built next to church. It has 5 bells, and the biggest one weighs over 4,000 kilograms. The church abounds with artwork. From artists' point of view, stained glass windows are the most valuable ones. Ivo Dulcic, a famous artist from Dubrovnik, made them, and they are imaging creation and history of Christ's life. Besides that, very valuable are fresco icon of John the Golden Mouth, Last Supper by Đuro Ceder, and marble statue of Holy Madonna with the Child by Frano Kršinić. Only a few hundred yards from Orthodox Church, the biggest mosque in town, and the synagogue, in part of the city where Austro-Hungarian architecture dominates. 1889, Sarajevo's cathedral was built. Combining Romanesque and Gothic elements, Josip Vancaš designed this important monument. It is the biggest cathedral in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and by appearance, it looks a lot like Cathedral Notre Dame in Dijon. It is placed on square, which is a very popular meeting place in Sarajevo. That is why the stairway in front of the cathedral is always full of people, just hanging out or waiting for someone. Above the main entrance, beautiful embossment depicts Holy Trinity, upon which stands statue of Jesus' heart, with a delightful rosette shaping an aureola. Vancaš also designed stained glass windows, the pulpit and the altars. Cathedral has 3 altars. The main altar is dedicated to the Jesus' heart and the other saints. The altar of Innocent Conception of Holy Virgin Mary was a gift from monarch Franco Joseph I, and the 3rd altar is dedicated to Holy Brothers, Cyril and Methodius. First, Bosnia-Herzegovina's Archbishop, Josip Stadler, gets most of the credit for building out the cathedral, so the grave with his statue as a thumbstone stands in cathedral. By the beginning of the World War II, 2 groups of Jews lived in Sarajevo, Sephardim and Ashkenazi. After the Holocaust, these 2 small communities united. So the Ashkenazi synagogue, the only active synagogue in Sarajevo today, is a headquarters of Sephardim Ashkenazi municipality. It was designed by Karl Parzik and built in 1902 and represents the first religious monument constructed in Neo-Bavarian style. It was baffled in 1965, so the first floor, where men used to sit, is now room for socializing. And the second floor, which was reserved for women, is synagogue. That is why today, during prayer time, men sit in front and women behind them. Walls of the synagogue are floored. Place from which rabbi leads the prayer, called Bima, is directed towards Jerusalem. In front of it is Aron Torah, a closet where Torah is placed. There is light always shining from this closet, and it symbolizes brightness of Torah shining on Jewish people. 10 commandments are written above this closet. Torah comprises of 54 parts, and one part is being read every Saturday. Each part is always written by hand, which is done by specially trained artificers called sofrim. They always rewrite from genuine Torah, so that originality is not earned. Except for the time of prayer, Torah must not be taken out of its closet. Only 700 Jews live in Sarajevo today, but in spite of that, Ashkenazi synagogue has always been culturally and historically very important. Imitating the Church of St. Peter and Paul in Rasin, Serbia, 1939, the Church of St. Lord's Transformation was built in Sarajevo. It was designed in Serbian Byzantium style by famous architect from Belgrade, Aleksandar Deroko. He successfully avoided medieval spirit and adjusted church's architecture to modern Christian tradition. Outside and inner walls were decorated with frescoes done by Jovan Zonic in 1940. Unfortunately, those frescoes were ruined by time, and so from 2004, completely new ones are being drawn. 4 young artists from Belgrade diligently were combining old drawings with their own ideas, and this way frescoes are being afresh drawn. In the center of the dome, image of Christ dominates. Around him, angels hold the sky, and then the Christ's transformation, apostles and saints, and mourning of the Christ are drawn. All drawings are done on the yellow background, which is not likely for church paintings, but it gives these frescoes richness and liveliness. The main altar is also illustrated by frescoes of Holy Madonna, Saint John, angels, and scenes of crucifixion. Settlement